Hey neighbor, I'm Greg with Hoss, and that's growhoss.com. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to be talking about onions. Man, I just love growing onions. We're out here in the onion plot, and we got some great things to share with you. First of all, I want to show you what I got growing out here in my onion plot, because you're going to see this and ask what it is. We got a row of Alabama blue collards. Now this is an heirloom that we're growing for a seed crop. So we let them bolt out, we're letting them flower. We're going to save the seeds off that so that we can provide, a good heirloom seed for you guys. Now let's get into onions. I love growing onions. As I said before, it's one of my favorite things to grow. Have I struggled with it a little bit in the past? Yes. Have we done better? Have we got really good at growing onions? We have, and I want to share all that with you today. Now, first of all, there've been some huge advancements in onion varieties in the last few years. Just over a year ago, I was at a field trial in Vidora, Georgia, and we looked at a lot of different varieties and how they grew off, the benefits from them, the drawbacks from them. We had good discussion with the onion breeders on about what we wanted and what we needed in an onion variety. Now what we need as home gardeners and what the commercial guys need, a lot of times is different. Those guys need what they call slots. So they need onion varieties that's going to come off at different times so they can schedule their harvest out over a longer period of time so that they keep their crews busy, they keep their packing shed busy, and they want a steady supply of a good onion. As home gardeners, we're on the other side of that. So the breeder asked me when we was there, what do you want in the onion as far as a home garden? And this is what I told him. We need one that's easy to grow. We need one that comes off early, because we like to grow our onions, get through with them, and move on to something else. And third, we want a big sweet onion. Is that 3 and 4? Well, we're just gonna call it 3. We want a big sweet onion, early onion, and easy to grow. And I think I found that variety. All right, so we got these two varieties right here that were planted at the exact same time. They were fertilized exactly the same. They were watered the same. They were treated exactly the same. And you can see there is a big difference in these two varieties right here. This right here is Texas 1015. This is an older open pollinated variety that's been around for a long time. I believe it was developed by Texas A&M University. You see it here, and this is a newer variety right here called Vidora. Now this variety right here, the seed cost on this is dramatically more than this open pollinated one is. This right here is a hybrid variety, but I want you to look at the difference in the vigor of these two plants. Now that being said, the Vidora is probably going to be a little bit earlier maturing than the Texas 1015, and this may be a little later, so we got to take that into account. But you can see there's a dramatic difference in these two plants of onions. They are two different types of onions. The Texas 1015 is what we call a grano type, and grano with an O on the end of it. And this is the way I remember that. Granos have a round shaped bulb, and this Vidora is a Grand X type, and the way I remember that is the Grand X. I take the X and that reminds me that it is a flat type onion. Now different parts of the country kind of prefer one or the other. Here in Georgia, we always preferred flat onions. If we went to the grocery store, we bought a flat onion because in our head we thought it had to be flat to be sweet. Well, that's not necessarily the case. Now our friends over in Texas and that part of the world love those round onions. That is somewhat changing now. A lot of round onions are being grown around here in Georgia, but still, if you got any age on you, if you're an old timer, you got a preference whether you like the Grano or the Grand X, and usually it's because of where you was lived or where you was raised at. As you notice my 2 row of onions here, they're probably about 3 weeks from harvesting. When about 30 to 40 or maybe 50% of those tops fall over, they're going to be ready to harvest at that point. Now we have to take weather into consideration. If we got maybe 10 to 15% of these tops falling over, but yet we got a hurricane or a big bad storm coming in, we want to go ahead and harvest them early because we like to lay them on top of the ground, let them cure for a day or two before we put them inside there. So I always take weather into consideration when I'm gonna harvest my onions, but normally speaking, if your weather is good and great, nice and sunny, you want 30 to 50% of these tops laying over you. You know it's time to harvest them. Now one common thing that a lot of onion growers have, especially if you've not been growing onions for a while, is you'll have some of your onions bolt or go to seed right here. Now what I'm showing you here, folks, is some onions I got beside my bub onions, and this is a multiplying onion or perennial onion that I've been working with right here. And it's common to see these things bolt. We call these false seed heads. But this perennial onion here is different than our bub onions. If you'll look down my 2 rows of bub onions here, I don't have any bolting or any going to seed. And the reason for that is my onions have not stressed any. When we see bolting in our bub onions, what happens is that plant has stressed somewhere along the line that's caused it to bolt. And once it starts bolting, that onion doesn't get any bigger. It's not a good thing to see in the onion patch, but because we know our onions have stressed at some point. And to grow those big old sweet onions, we don't want our onion plants to stress at all. So if you have some of your bubbing onions that are blooming, you need to reevaluate your process all the way through. Fertility, did I plant them at the right time? Did I plant the right variety? Did I fertilize them right? Did I water them right? Something within what I all just mentioned there can cause that plant to stress and cause it to bolt. We don't like that. I don't have any bolting in mine, and that's wonderful, but I'm not gonna sit here and tell you I've never had them bolted. I've had them bolt before, and I was kind of at a loss of why they did. Well, now I know, after I've been growing them for a number of years, I didn't do something right. It wasn't just the onion's fault, it was my fault as a grower. I stressed that onion and caused it to bolt. Your goal as an onion grower, a bubbing onion grower, is not to have any of your onion plants bolt or go to seed on you. Anybody can grow big, fine onions. There's just a few rules you got to follow, and you got to follow these rules. You got to plant the right type onion, plant it at the right time. You got to fertilize it correctly, and you got to water it correctly. If you'll do those things, you can be successful growing these big onions. And I love onions because my onions come off right at the time that I get to plant my warm season crops, such as my tomatoes and peppers. So I have my onions, I can go ahead and flip that spot and I can get my warm season stuff in there. I've utilized that garden spot there. Onions store really good for us. I put them in my barn there on a rack there, and we got onions all the way through the summer going into the fall. So we never have to buy our onions. We get ready to eat fish, and I love to eat raw onion with my fish. I just go up to my barn and get an onion. So it's a great thing to have, especially if you want to grow your own food, because onions store well. Growing onions is easy if you follow the rules.